Arcor 1964 here, video racing between the 30th of March, will be tomorrow, and the 5th of April. Starting Ludlow, a race named after like Ben Chambers. Ben Chambers' Memorial Handicap Hurdle Race, 2 miles 5 furlongs and a bit. I have to admit I don't know anything about Ben Chambers. It's a new race, so sadly I assume he's died recently and had some connection with Ludlow. That's all I can tell you about that. Then on Thursday at Chepstow, we have a handicap steeplechase over 2 miles 3.5 a furlong. Then move into the Easter period here. I'll cover Good Friday, Easter Saturday, Easter Sunday, and a video next week I will cover Easter Monday. And my local course Newcastle, I'm not sure I can make this meeting. I've been to it a few times, the All Over Flannels meeting. I said a few times, I actually went to it at Lingfield, only then for the next year to be transferred to my local course Newcastle, which is rather annoying really. So it's certainly very high quality prize money. I said it was a video out during this trials meeting for this. You cannot have a championship handicap, it just doesn't work. I said you can have a 10th final and the sort of go north final like you have with see Pigeon Nightmares recently. I was actually at that meeting. But the handicap cannot be a championship race, it doesn't work like that. It was when it was originally a conditions races, of course it was. We would change the handicap, but we should just take championship race name out because it makes no sense. But anyway, certainly very good prize money. And we set an order with a long running birds and distance stakes over 1 mile 5 furlongs for 3-year-olds. We have a 3-year-old championship handicap stakes over 6 furlongs. Fillies and Mares championship handicap stakes over just over 7 furlongs. The All-Over Championship mile handicap and the sprint over 6 furlongs. And a middle distance race over 1 mile 2 furlongs and a bit. And finally a marathon handicap over just over 2 miles. You know, at Lingfield, obviously these races came in as sort of replacement for Lingfield for losing all the finals to Newcastle. So again, decent prize money here actually. Lingfield 2, almost on again on Good Friday. And you have a village handicap stakes over 7 furlongs, a marathon race over a little under 2 miles, a sprint handicap over 6 furlongs, a middle distance over 1 mile 2, another also a mile race as well there, a field handicap over 6 furlongs, and finally an apprentice race, decent money even so for that race, for over 1.5 miles. There was a malfunction in Chelmsford City, and I was reading there's also a Thursday meeting, we're not covering, but a Good Friday meeting at Chelmsford. Apparently Chelmsford City had a dispensation after meeting 1 because they were going into administration. I said this at least, I've been to all of the races in Britain and foreign Ireland, and in my video I put out about my rankings of the race courses, and again I'll just link this here because I may as well do. I did a video on it. Chelmsford City was my least favourite race course. I think going there, hopefully in a minute, early in May to go, I think of Chelmsford Filly Stakes, one of the 2 listed races at Chelmsford. But a minute, I may find myself spending a day in Chelmsford. I don't know what's going to happen if a meeting doesn't take place. I don't like race course. I think it's badly run, but it happens to have 2 listed races there. It's actually a good meeting here, in fact, as well. We have a series of Easter-related races. So Easter Festival Handicap Stakes over 5 furlongs, 4-year-olds. Bunny Hop Handicap Stakes, a Class 6 actually, but it's going to be worth about 10 grand to win. I don't know how many times there are Class 6 with that sort of money. That's with 7 furlongs. A novice 3-year-old race over 7 furlongs. The Chelmsford Mile Series Final. The Good Friday Condition Stakes over 6 furlongs. The Easter Extravaganza Handicap Stakes over mile 6, and finally Easter Bonnet Handicap over mile 2. Moving to Easter Saturday at Musselburgh, some long running races here. Now here we have a Goliath Cup, that's the former Further Flight Stakes, which was held at Nottingham. Come over here. Musselburgh had a Goliath Cup in 2018 and 2019. I've said we don't want to keep the Further Flight name because Further Flight had absolutely no connection in Musselburgh. Hope Newmarket will have a race named after Further Flight because he had made his connections winning the same race there 5 times. The races there are the Royal Mile for 3-year-olds, the Silver Hour Handicap over 7 furlongs, as I said, the Goliath Cup Stakes listed race over just under 1 mile 6 furlongs. Also long running Queen's Cup Handicap Stakes over the same distance. Scottish Sprint Cup over 5 furlongs. Haydock series of final races. I went to this a few years ago. So we have here 2 mile Challenger Hurdle Series final. Then just over 3 miles and another Handicap Series final. Then a middle distance Veterans Handicap here. Stating BHA over a Lancashire course. Not quite sure what the Lancashire course is. The official name of Betfair changes to Lancashire Chase. I'm not quite sure what connection is. And that says that over just under 2.5 miles. Then Newton Abbot, one of the 2 race courses, Barber Close Toaster. Only been to once along with 4th class. very expensive to get to Newton Abbot, and frankly Newton Abbot's racing isn't the best. And for this, I'm afraid I'd say this 20 grand total pot race is actually good for Newton Abbot these days, and it's handicap steeplechase over fraction of 2 miles 5 furlongs. And early in the card, the Les Drew Hello Matey 80 handicap steeplechase over a fraction under 2 miles 5. Huntingdon on the same day. There's more a race with someone called Wasp Pike. I have to admit I don't know who Wasp Pike was, so sadly he must have passed away recently. I can't find a race listed in previous years for him. A couple of races at Wolverhampton. More races here. Members of Agri Burke Apprentice Handicap over 1 mile 143 yards. Now Agri Burke died not too long ago, and he became a well-known ethnic minority psychiatrist. I don't know his connection with Wolverhampton, I have to say. I'm not quite sure why he's wasting anything after him, particularly here. And also have remembrance race for Fernando Addo, who certainly had some connections with Wolverhampton healthcare in the past. And that one race itself is just over 7 furlongs. Plumpton have the Sussex Champion Hurdle. Went to a sort of sister race of this, the Sussex Champion Chase. Again, you could argue if they should the handicap be a champion race. That's a debate, but that was held on Easter Monday, and may still be. I don't know. But the Sussex Champion Hurdle is over a fraction under 2 miles. And finally, race meeting I'm going to myself. The first time in Bath in I think 8 years. It's just not that many top quality racing there. I've went to it once just got a Bath in 2015, and then been going to a second or two listed race I've been to since there. And sadly, it's just not cheap to get to Bath. But here, the major race of the day is the Lansdowne Stakes, and that's over fraction over 5 furlongs. So well, a long way to go for just a 5 furlong race.